Hello, hello. So I'm going to be doing a tutorial on raspberries. There's a few other ones out there. I tried some. They're cool. They works. I was just curious. I was thinking about how we can do it a different way. Mostly what people try doing is um, creating points on an object and then putting like spheres and stuff. Um, that's cool, except I was noticing on raspberries, there's really these kind of like, they're not like perfect spheres, and they kind of feel like mushed together. And I was like, how could you do that if you put like spheres there? And then, even this part, they're very like long and not like spherical for the inside. So I figured out a way to do it. There's still some issues with it. I'm playing around with, like the bottom gets a little ugly. Um, but I'll show you what I've done, and even you can get like the middle having different coloring and that kind of stuff. So, all right. So I think it's important to have images reference when you're doing these kind of things, or else you kind of have an idea in your mind what it's supposed to look like. But then in actuality, it's a bit different. So what we're doing right now is doing this kind of part right here. We're modeling this, right? And then what we're going to do, instead of just doing like random points around it and putting spheres on it, we're going to take the faces, make them the desired kind of shape. And I got this idea because I was looking at dual mesh, and dual mesh can kind of create these hexagon shapes. And then we're going to extrude out, right? So we want to extrude out like a certain, like if this is the center, extrude out and then kind of be rounded. And I kind of figured what we do is extrude 2 times. One to have like a bit sharper here, and then the other one further away, and then subsurface it. And that's pretty much it. So let's do that. First we can delete the geometry at the top that we don't want. So we're gonna say, let's get the normal and whatever that equals for, this is the Z upwards, right? So you want to say 1, and then you just dial it down a little bit. You can see, okay, deletes. That's great. First thing already done. Okay, next thing we're gonna want to do is very, oh yeah, so here you can see the wireframe. So if we do dual mesh, I don't think it's gonna work. Yeah, it doesn't really work. So what we want to do, I think, is triangulate it. So now we start getting these kind of shapes, which is good. Da, 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 da. What we want to do is, if we extrude it, we can extrude on all the individual, like if we do here, extrude mesh. You have it where, I guess you could do it with individual, but what I did was I did split edges. There's probably a bunch of ways you can do it, so you can play around with it. So I did split edges and then separate geometry, and you want it to face. So now we don't really need individual, it doesn't matter. All right. And oh yeah, so we're gonna see, oh, there's a problem, right? We're missing the inside of it because when we extrude it, you lose the original face because it's been extruded outwards. So we're gonna have to join geometry, put that here, and we get it back. That's great. And now we want to merge those points, or else here, actually, I'll show you subsurface. So yeah, you can see here, it doesn't really It's not connected, so it doesn't make a nice sphere. I mean, maybe that's what you want. That's okay. What I'm gonna do is just this. And I'm gonna scale everything down. Scale elements. And then join, get rid of that one. Can clean it up a little bit. That's Shift G, right click, I think? Or what is it? G? No, Shift right click. Shift right click. And then G to move it. Okay. So now we can see it's not working. Why it wasn't working? Face orientation. So what happens is we're looking at the bottom when extruding. So what we need to do, it's not gonna merge because it doesn't want to then, but works. Okay. So that's pretty good. Now what we can do is extrude it again, and it's gonna extrude like all the sides of the mesh. We don't want that. We just want to extrude the top, so we put the top into selection. Perfect. And now they're all kind of far because, like, you know, when you like, we can like scale it up, right? You could do that if you want, but I think like we want a little bit of control as well, and we need to add this subdivision. Also, let's put a set smooth. All right, and take off your face orientation. We don't need that now. This nice enclosed shape. Then what we're gonna do is do it after we've welded all the pieces together. And we're gonna do this top. Boop. We're gonna do the last top. Boop. All right. And now we can have the control. And you have to think also, like, if you're scaling the first, I think what happens also is like let's say this is the line. If you're scaling this, it seems to also scale this one because it's being extruded, right? But then you can scale this one afterwards, so you have to kind of go back and forth to play with them, if that makes sense. All right. So you can play around with it until it gets to the shape you like and go, and maybe you don't want a lot of extrusion on this one, just like 0.1 or something. And then this is where you want a bit more of the extrusion and the scale. And this is where you kind of look at your diagram and you're like, well, it's kind of like an oval. Maybe this is too long. Let's bring it down a little bit. Maybe we want to plump these guys up a little more. Okay. That's good. That's good. Okay. Then we're going to set a material afterwards. But for now, also what we want is it's a translucent-ish material, subsurface scattering, that kind of stuff. So I think it's important to have these seeds. So let's do that really quickly. Let's grab, so these are all the faces. And I was thinking about how to do this. Maybe it's not the best way, but the way I did it was I grabbed the faces. So here, if I do this, we can see. So we have all the faces here. And they're all separated. And then we can merge by distance. Connected. So now we get like, because if you just, ooh, that's kind of cool effect too. If you put points on the mesh, it's going to put a point like at every vertex or every face, and I think this was the best way I came up with. So now we're going to do mesh 2 points. Nope, mesh 2 points. points. All right. So now we have the points. And we're going to want to instance and then we're going to want to create a icosphere. That's massive. So we're going to put that down. Also set shade smooth. Then you're going to want to set like a material where we don't have any created so far. So let's just do this and we'll do one that's. All right, I'll do one that's seed. And let's do that this color. We can even pick it. So we're going to do seed. And then we're going to do another one. We're going to call that raspberry. Make it red. All right. Then we're going to join geometry. Oops. There we go. So now we see it. Ah, perfect. It's all in there. And it's cutting through. So what we're going to want to do, because it's like literally on the point. Vector math. Scale. Okay, so I need to get the normal of each of those faces that we looked at. So I need to do a transfer attribute. Then write normal into attribute, make it a vector, and then scale that. And see, now it goes flying out. Whee! And that's how you can do an explosion effect. Okay. So we do that, and we offset all of them, make sure they're in the center there. So you're gonna like probably want to hook that up. Like in my graph that I did afterwards, I had like the extrusion scale also tied into the scale. So then when you make it bigger, it like follows it as well. But for now, I'm not going to do that. That's like extra. Okay. And now what we're also going to want to do is make those tails. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use this and do instance on points. It doesn't really come from here. But I'm like, well, it's okay. You can probably do something nicer. I was just doing it quick. So make it 0, 0, 0, whatever, 1. We're gonna set material. We're gonna want to curve to mesh. Put that in. We're gonna want to make a circle, curve circle. Do that. Let's make a new material. Call it whatever. I just called it tail. Make it kind of like a lightish green, whitish green. And then put it in here. Oops. And it's massive. So we want to turn it down to like 0.01, 0.05. All right, let's do this. We're going to, we don't want it to go up in the air, so let's put it to 0. And then what we're going to do is get the spline, because what we're going to want is everything is down here in the middle, and we want them to go out from the point where it starts, and then have another point, let's say here. So how do we do that? Well, we want to select the last point. And so what you do is you grab the spline parameter, right? And you grab the factor and you say, great, I can't remember, I always forget if it's greater than or less than. Let's see, yeah, that is that right? I don't know what we're gonna see in a second. And let's set the curve radius, not serve, curve radius to here. Grab the spline parameter, do a color ramp. I mean, you can do also a map range. I just find this like easier to visualize since I'm more of an artist. So okay, so see when we did it, this is like 0 and 1. So if it's greater than 0, so we want to flip it. So is that, I'm gonna forget again. No, that makes sense because that's the small point. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is remember the transfer thing. We're gonna grab that. Transfer attribute, which is grabbing the normals. We're gonna put it to offset. Let's, there we go. Little spiky boys coming out. It's perfect. Okay. That's a bit too thin, too thick. 0.5. Again, I'm not doing it perfectly because like there's actually this like little dot at the end of it. But I don't want this tutorial to be super long, so okay, boom boom. So that doesn't look great obviously because it's just like flat like this. Also what we can do is set handle type here, so it's gonna be like that. So obviously you don't want it like super simple like that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a vector add, or you can play around with this part. It's kind of like whatever you like. And this is like the, I don't think, wait, did I do it noise? You can do a noise texture because you do noise texture and then you do vector math subtract. So you subtract it by 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. And so what we're gonna do is take that, do that. You can see it wiggling around a little bit. That's good. So this is gonna control the offset. And then what we can multiply it. Yeah, that's a bit not great. Because like we don't want all the points to be multiply, put a value. Let's just put 1 for now. Let's do add. Ooh. So we can see it's like moving around. That's pretty good. Let's go back after and play with this. Little positions. So yeah, we can do something like that. And what we can also do is just do random value, right? And so there's offset, so it's a vector. I mean, you can plug in a float as well, but here you can have more options where you can go, yeah, I don't really want it to go up, so 0. Let's just do 0, 0, 0 so we can see what we're doing. And then, yeah, I don't want it to go up. I would want it to like curve. Most of them seem to be curving. Actually, yeah, most of them seem to be curving down. And then what I can do here is do add. Yeah, and then bring all the little hairs down a bit. Like that. And I probably don't want it to be that far. That's good. Just clean up this. You can put a little. So now we can see like from up here a bit. Minus a little, plus a little. There you go. Okay. Good, 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 good. That's pretty good. I think now what we want to do is probably play around with. There's two ways we can do it. One way I was doing it, it's like getting the right amount of the little droplets. So we can do a remesh and put it above here, right? And that you can play around with. You can go into here and like, oh, just by doing that, that seems a bit better for me, right? And then if I go back into here, oh, you have to, yeah, that's a weird thing. I don't like, because it's selected here, so you don't see it in geometry. You need to click on geometry here. What I do is put a merge by distance here. And you can like break it up a little. You can like create some more like interesting shapes with this. That's good, that's good, that's good. And then it's gonna really be playing around until you like what's happening. Okay, that's good. The next thing, the last thing for the look of it is we're gonna want all the little tiny hairs. So it's gonna be pretty much the same that we did up here. We're gonna do like here, we're gonna grab the part where it's here, we mesh it all together, we merge it, we scale the elements, subdivide. So we're gonna grab all the subdivision. We're gonna do a distribute points on the face. It's like the easiest way to do it. Grab those points, plug it in here. You can do random, but I like to do this and give it like a bit of a minimum. Put that on here, and hopefully it doesn't blow up your computer. That's why I give it like not too crazy of why am I not, oh, I'm not seeing anything because there's no points. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did before, which is we're going to like set the position. So we set position, boom. We grab the spline parameter less than greater than, I mean, I'm lying, 0.9. Hey, oh, realize objects, realize instances. There you go. Because when it doesn't work unless you realize it, because like every instant, they're all instances and you need to make them each their own instance, I think. So then you can affect each one of them with this instead of like it won't work because it's just one of them. I didn't explain that really well, and I'm sorry because I don't really fully understand it. Okay. So now we can control it. So we're gonna want to do the same thing, but we actually have the points and the normals here. So we can do scale like that. There we go. And why is it going up? Oh yeah, it's going up because I put it up here. So 0. Okay. And we're gonna wanna make it a little shorter. Then we can do the same thing where we go this and add and do, we can just go grab it, the noise stuff, go grab this, bring it down here, put it in here, and probably just bring down the value a little bit. We just want a little bit of it. And then slowly, oh yeah, one other thing is I put the Bezier segment because it has a resolution, which is nice. Put it down to 3. You don't really, you want more quantity over quality, whereas the other big ones, you want more quality over quantity. And now you can start bringing this up, and maybe bringing this down, maybe 0.01, 0.2, that's too much, 0.1. You can hold shift and drag as well, so you can start seeing a bit. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. You can try different resolutions as well slowly. I recommend slowly. Okay, and then let's add another one, and let's call it hair. And then I'm gonna do a principled hair and make it white. That's good enough for what it is. Oh yeah, and we can't forget, we need to get curve to mesh. And we're gonna do the same thing where we take a circle, curve circle, make it 0.001 or something. We don't want 32. Make it like 8 or something. Do that. Good. Again, we're gonna want to do the spline parameter, color ramp. And you're gonna see it's like always the same kind of thing over and over. Set radius curve. Boom. Boom. I think we flip it around if I remember from 2 seconds ago. And it lagged out. Yeah. Perfect. And then you can play around with it, how much, again, offset you want. Cool, and it's spawning everywhere. That's great. Okay, that's pretty much it for the geometry. Then there's one more thing is in the middle, in a lot of photos that I was looking at, there is kind of like this white, it looks like the hairs, but it also looks kind of like some dirt and stuff. Not dirt, but like more like the roughness of it. And I was like, how is it even possible to get that? So what I ended up doing was using my good old friend, the geometry proximity. And I think let me double check. I think I used it at the separate, no, at the, yeah, separate geometry. I did a store named attribute. So you do a store named attribute and then plug it back in. And then let's call this, oh no, this was for the random. Okay, this is just another thing for randomness, because we realize everything and we want like random. So I'm gonna call this random, and then what we're gonna do a random value. We're gonna slap it in here. And now if I go to this, and let's go to shader, and we go attribute, we type in random, and then you can do Control Shift click. You can see it's not doing anything. I don't know why. Because it's in seed. Raspberry. There we go. And I think it's because we want not the point, but we want the face. Yeah, okay. So that's great. So did I put seed here? Okay, I put seed. Okay, sorry about that. So now we have random, so you can use this if you want to create more variation within like colors and stuff. It's super easy. You can put like let's say you want the color red, and you put you can use the factor into the factor and go here. Control Shift T to put that back in. And whoa, cool. I wouldn't go that crazy, but follow your dreams. We want the geometry proximity from here. And then we're gonna go and bring it all the way to the end. Put it in here. Grab that. Go into the output, name it. You can name it distance if you want. All right. Now let's do this. And then write distance. And now you can see it does a distance. So it does a distance between what it is at, I think how it happens is whatever it is here compared to what it is in the end. Somebody can explain it better, but I think that's what it is. And you can play around with like if it looks better with points. Oops. If it looks better with points or edges or faces. And I usually leave this without changing it, so it's like here or whatever. And then you can do like a map range here. And this is where you're going to play around with, or you can do color ramp, or like I usually like color ramp, but I think this gives you more flexibility, I think. Color ramp. There we go. And you can, again, like I didn't spend too much time, but you can play around with like, does that look the best, or does it look better here, or does it look better somewhere else, like over here, or over here? I don't know, it's like trial by error, right? This is what I'm legit doing as well. I'm like, what am I doing? And somehow it works, right? Just have fun. So that's cool. So that's great, because now what you can do is you can take this and do a mixed RGB. Boom. And not in the color, but in the factor. And you can grab it here and see, look, now it kind of already looks pretty okay. So let's just do that. I have a 1080, so it's not like super, no RTX on. Put a sky texture. I usually just do that like really quick to see how it looks. I tried subsurface. Yeah, so. I found really the transmission. I played around a lot with it. I got like 0.97. That was like the sweet spot for me. You can play around with it. it's also hard because there's so many different looking raspberries when they're washed or when they're dirty and like haven't been cleaned. Then I do like a little noise texture, displacement, put that in the height, put that in the displacement, put it down to like 0.08. Make it small, so like 100 or 90 or something. Sometimes we can look at it not fully done yet, so we can visualize it a bit better. So you want kind of like high frequency noise, so it breaks up the highlights. And then what I'm going to do is do another noise. And then put it into the roughness. Then do a color ramp. And then I'm also going to take this, right? Do a mix here. I want to add it here. I'm going to do an add. So you can see when you remember when you do Control Shift, you can preview what you're doing. And maybe actually I'm going to do, it's a little more expensive, but so that way when you're playing around with it, so you also want kind of like that, and it's pretty shiny. With those rough spots, and that's why it's not working properly, because we want to take that and put it in here and then add the amount that we want. See, now we can see it like that. And we can, yeah, that's pretty good. We can play around. Again, play around with it. Don't forget the hair. Oh, we made it principal. Okay, perfect. Do we also, we did not set the hair. Set material. Hair. All right, that's much better. And again, play around with those settings until you get something that you like. Look at reference 100%. Again, it took me a bit of time until I was happy with that. I used all the same settings, but I also, hey guys, a lot of the time people really neglect, again, using reference photos. This is how it all started. I used this photo that I took while eating some raspberries, and I was like, this is how it all started. And then I modeled the a rough version of the scene, and that way I was getting the lighting pretty close. I'm not going super realistic, but you know, just to help me out. Again, for the lighting, like looking at the shadows, the softness of the shadows, the lighting color, how it affects it. Even in here, can you see through it? How much light bounces in it? Are the shadows super dark in here, like black, or are they not? Even here, you can see there's a shadow that goes here, but there's another ambient shadow. Is it ambient occlusion, or is it that there's a light above the kitchen table? So a lot of things to think about also when you're trying to do something realistic is to analyze the lighting in the image that you're using as reference, and that'll also help you in turn do a really nice 3D product. And yeah, hope that helped. I'm trying to get better at these tutorials, still pretty new, so cut me some slack. And yeah, thank you. Have a good one.